So, hi, my name is Joey Zero, and we got the older model again today, but with the, edgy boy bandages and stuff. Is that cool? I never used those on stream. Never did. But here we are. Anyway, I felt it was a little more fitting. I was talking with a buddy of mine, Xenogellion. I'm sure that a lot of the folks watching this are familiar with Xenogellion already, but he is a buddy of mine he talks about anime a lot. He's very good at talking about anime. He's got a podcast. He's got a little show that he does on YouTube and stuff. And I brought the question up with him. What do you think would be a good anime topic for me to do a video about? And one of the things that he brought up was really interesting. He was like, tell me a little bit about trends in anime. What do you think about certain trends? And I was like, okay, so what do you mean? And he was like, recently you had the trend of isekai stuff, where it seemed like everything that was coming out was an isekai. Before that everything was high school. Everything took place in high school. It was a take on high school life. And most recently, it seems like one of the bigger kind of trends in anime is adult protagonists. And it's really interesting that I hadn't thought about that. But as soon as he mentioned it, my brain just immediately was like, boom, yeah, there have been a lot of anime like that, and I've been here for it, for every one of them, dude. Every one of them that I've had a chance to see, I've loved it, and I've loved it so much more because of the whole, adult protagonist angle. The first one that came to mind was Kaiju number 8, that's a core part of the story. The main character does not exist as a main character unless he is old. Unless he is old man who is getting on in years and he seems as though he has lost his chance. Because I think that for a lot of adults, for a lot of folks, especially folks that kind of identify as former gifted kid type folks, it's a very common feeling that, okay, my golden years are behind me. What I wouldn't give to return to the 20s. But that's a very common sentiment, and it's something that I didn't think about it, but yeah, that was highly relatable, and that was a core component of his motivations and stuff as a character. And bro, the anime is so much better for it, I feel. I haven't read the manga, but there's a bunch of other stuff out there like that as well. And I mean, that's a core part of what makes One Punch Man fun, is that whole idea of everyday life becoming very mundane and very boring. That's a very common sentiment as far as I'm aware, as far as I've seen and as far as I've felt and experienced for myself, that's very relatable. I spend a lot of days just kind of doing stuff that I think is pretty cool, doing the thing that I set out to do for the day, you know what I mean? But at the end of a successful day, when everything goes according to plan, just being a little bit bored with that and being like, man, I wish something would happen that was not this. In my mind, there have been a lot of different franchises that have grown up with their audience. I think one example of this is not, strictly speaking an anime, is the Pokemon franchise. So, as far as I understand it, some of the later games started dipping into a little more, some darker themes that were a little more adult. And when that was called into question, Nintendo released a statement where they basically said something along the lines of, yeah, we know that a lot of our player base has grown up, and we want to respect that. That's how you end up with parents getting their kids into Pokemon and stuff like that. I just think it's really interesting, these moments where you have media that kind of grows up with its audience. I feel like Cartoon Network did that as well, to an extent. They went from kids shows to stuff like Adult Swim. Then Adult Swim kind of started running more grown-up programming. As time went by, they started to pick up kind of what seemed to be a more adult-focused roster. And then it kind of seemed like they hit their stride with that brand, and it seemed like they kind of stopped being quite so adventurous, we'll say. But I don't know, dude. I just think that there are a lot of really interesting occurrences or maybe I just think it's really interesting to see what emerges from some media growing up with its viewership. And yeah, I think that anime with an adult protagonist, absolutely just highly relatable, very fucking cool. Shit, what was Gretzko? Oh my god, dude. There's so many other occurrences of that. I think that I've known folks who the trends bother them a lot. So in other words, maybe they're really into one or two isekai, and then every isekai after that, they're like, oh, does everything have to be an isekai these days? I don't want this doesn't have to be an isekai. I don't want all these isekai. I just want like not, I want some stuff that's like original. I want some original stuff that's not an isekai, please. And so that's my impersonation of myself. But like, I think maybe we all know somebody like that. Shit, maybe we are somebody like that. Admittedly, I can be like that sometimes with some stuff, but I think that anytime there's the trend, I'm always really interested to see what some of the standouts in that space are, what some of the innovators in that space are, what everybody's hyping up. Because I think in some cases, a lot of that media can be overhyped. Media being overhyped is a problem that is a commonplace on the internet in 2025. The general consensus is that X anime is very, very good, is like the best anime or whatever. Then if that's a common consensus, then usually like I'm really excited to give it a watch because I'm interested to see like what does society in general think of this thing. And B, usually I find it enjoyable. Usually I find myself enjoying it kind of regardless of the fact that it is as popular as it is. I hate that I have to put it in terms like that, but that is totally how I feel. How I feel about it sometimes. Anyway, what do you think? What do you think, chat? Can I call you chat? Can I call you chat? Can we call each other chat? Can you call me chat? That'd be really great. What do you think? Is there anime that you're super into despite how clearly overly hyped it is? Is there anime that you're not like that about? Yeah, there are isekai that I like because they're isekai, and there are isekai that I like despite the fact that they're isekai, and there are anime that I don't like despite the fact that they're isekai. You know what I mean? I feel kind of same as like the high school thing though. I was a lot less into like the high school trend in anime. There was a lot less anime around that time that got my attention, I feel. Anyway, let me know what your thoughts are. Join my Discord. Let's start an anime channel in Discord where we all talk about the animes that we've been watching and really enjoying that everybody is overhyping and that not enough people are talking about it. That'd be really cool. That'd be pretty sweet. I don't watch nearly as much anime as I'd like to, so like, I don't know. Give me some recommendations. Yeah. My name's Joey. I'll see you later. Bye.